Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to my good friend. He is from arguably the most prestigious wrestling site here in Southern California. Not just wrestling site, but also MMA. Like, you guys do it all at So Cal Uncensored, but he is the one and only Andrew Pesina. Andrew, what's going on, my man?
I feel like we just had this conversation 15 minutes ago off air, but I'm high and I just had food. So, but yeah, like, are there any other like local websites that cover MMA, or is it just So Cal Uncensored exclusively? Like,
this is kind of it. Yeah, it's cool because I'm absolutely honored. I mean, we are friends, but the thing is, you don't do many of these, right? So when
this is my second podcast ever, and the first one was with Ray Rosas, so you're in good company.
See, thank you. I mean, if you can't be the first, why not be the damn fucking second? And I'm proud as shit to be the fucking second. So I'm just saying.
Behind Ray Rosas, like, he convinced me to do one day, and like, it probably wasn't good because I was on I got high and I had been on painkillers at the time, so I said some shit.
Dope shit always. Dope shit always. You know, which
doped up shit. I didn't say dope shit, but it was doped up, I guess.
you can fucking say shit. You can say shit. You can say a lot of fucking things.
I'll say a lot of things, I guess, on this. I'll try not to get canceled before I get picked up.
Oh, I hit the thing about, like, is this video made for kids? And I wish there was like a third option that says fuck no. But yeah, no, it's not made for kids, especially at 11 o'clock. What the fuck? It's like Thanksgiving, right before Black Friday. What the fuck are you? If you're 8 years old, what the fuck are you doing on YouTube? That's my PSA. Don't be on YouTube at 11 o'clock, you fucking dude.
I mean, I used to stay up till like 2 a.m. when I was an 8-year-old kid and all that. So I can't really judge.
That is some Dave Attell insomniac shit, like a motherfucker. Hopefully you're having a nice, well, you wouldn't have a drink at 8 years old unless you're in Somalia.
When I was 13, I would always stay up till like 5 or 6 a.m. or at least whenever Saved by the Bell would come on TBS.
That Kelly Kapowski, isn't it?
Dude, did you watch the fucking new one? The reboot?
No, is it good?
The reboot, season 1 of the reboot just dropped today. I watched the first episode. Dude, she's still fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I was never like a Kelly. Like, I don't know what the fuck that I watched that show as a kid, because like usually you're like, oh, like, you know, hot-tempered young man and blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, the gal and whatever. But like, I was never a Kelly Kapowski, never Jesse Spano, or definitely not Lisa Turtle.
You were more of that one girl from the first season, huh? The curly-haired girl.
Wasn't her name Jessie?
No, but it was something else. I wish I could. I don't recall, but I definitely know who you're talking about. The one from the Miss Bliss days,
with the leather jacket and all.
Something like. No, is that from the later years of the high school years? I'm talking about the junior high school years.
Yeah, and what's her face? Scientologist gal. She wasn't.
Who's a Scientologist now?
She was what, like Stacey Carosi or something?
Oh, yeah. Leah Remini. Yeah, she went into Scientology and she got out and now she's exposed. I'm not going to say anything more about that. I don't want to get in trouble with them. You know,
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't all bad with Saved by the Bell. You know,
dude, I used to get true story behind like I was on probation in like from like 2015 to like 2018, right, for a crime I never committed but got convicted of because, you know, I'm brown in a white town, you know. But anyway, I got to like this place I was working at that I was doing community service and then later got hired at. Like, it's in North Hollywood, like right off to hung on this little street called Cumston. I would have to take Burbank Boulevard there, and they have like this massive like like Scientology center right on Burbank Boulevard near like Lancashire, and it always creeped me out driving by there. I mean, it's creepy enough driving by North Hollywood as it is, but
that's a staple, right? I mean, if you grow up in LA, right, and you're an impressionable person, right, like you're gonna wander into one of those Dianetics tests with the pecans and everything like that. And
I do you remember Tower Records?
yeah.
Okay, so in Glendale, there was a Tower Records on Brand Boulevard, like right across the street from where the Americana is, right across the street from the In-N-Out. It's where I used to buy tickets for WWF shows all the time. And dude, I remember it's like where it used to be was like this shopping area called the Glendale Marketplace or something like that. I forgot. It had like it had Tower Records. It had like a movie theater on the second floor, bunch of dining restaurants, and a skate shop where a bunch of kids went, right? And they had these fountains with frogs, and at the time it was all cool, but now they're all dilapidated and shit. But it used to be the hangout spot in Glendale when I was a kid. And there was this guy who would always give out stress tests to people. And my friends and I, when we were like 14-year-old, we were 14, 15, 16-year-old stoners, and this was like 2002, before we knew better, before anyone knew better. Like, he would fucking like befriend us and try to talk to us, and then he would like, oh yeah, you guys gotta check out this book sometime. And it was called Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard, and little did we know what they were trying to get us into. And then eventually, like, they had an office down the street on Brand Boulevard, and they got a friend of mine to fucking like do a job interview, even though she was 14, and she asked me to go with her after school just to like make sure it was okay. So I went with her, and she did some job interview, and I just sat in a waiting room, and then these two like Hispanic dudes who were like 16, 17 came in, and they just sat down next to me, and they were like, what's up? And they're like, not much. What's going on? I'm like, no, we got asked to come in here for a free video. I was like, that's weird. And this one dude came in, he said, hey, you guys want to watch a video? And like, they were like, yeah, that's what we're here for. I'm like, I'm here with my friend. They're like, oh, she's going to watch it with you guys. And then we all went into this little dark room, and they had like a TV with the, like, remember those TV VCR combo things?
Yes.
So they had that, they put in a tape, and there was like this fucking video of like all this majestic scenery. And they had nice music. It was talking about paradise and all this nice shit, and how the mind is a gateway to heaven and all that. I'm paraphrasing. I'm making it up. Well, I'm not making the story up. I'm making up what was being said, but that's basically along the lines. The video ends, and everyone's just like freaked out. We're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then the person who fucking let us into the room came back in, asked us if we had any questions, and then they tried to sell us Dianetics, right after, and we just left, and we didn't really do much, and then we never really saw that Canadian guy again. But I do remember the one thing. I remember asking him if he knew who Our Lady Peace was, and he definitely knew who they were, and that, I guess that's how he ended up thinking we were friends, because I asked him a question if he heard about a band from Canada, which, yeah.
Well, okay, so let's play a little like fun game, right? Obviously they cater to kind of the people with influence and celebrity, if you will, right? So who was the person that you were most surprised being involved with the Church of Scientology?
Oh man, what's the name of that dude from fucking That 70s Show who played Hyde? Danny Masterson.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised when I found out about him. And then I was even more, I don't know if I could say surprised, but it was like bewildered at the fact that he's a rapist or an alleged rapist, just like Joey Ryan, who I had known for years, which is fucking crazy. I mean, I don't want to switch gears and say, like, talk about, Joey Ryan right off the bat, but it's like I always felt like if he ended up being accused of anything or if he got caught for anything, probably would have been something with like a younger girl, because he walked that line. Well, I mean, he made jokes a lot, and like there was some instances where it seemed like some of the girls he had been around weren't like of age, but at the same time, no, it's like sometimes you just can't tell with certain women. Sometimes there's going to be women who are in their 30s, but they look younger, and like same thing with guys. Like I remember when I was like 25, people thought I looked like I was in high school. It's like I'm older now, I'm 32, but people don't think I look 32. But with Joey, it's like he always joked about like weird stuff like that. So famous Joey Ryan quote. Do you remember that movie with Jennifer Gardner, I think, in like 2003, 2004, where she was playing like a little girl trapped in an adult woman's body?
No.
It's on TV all the time. It's like, it started out with like, it's like this teenage girl who's like 13 years old, and it's in the 80s. She wants to be popular, and she has a birthday party, and then she betrays her friend to try and be friends with the cool kids. And then she wanted to wish to like be an adult and be popular. So then one day she wakes up and she's in her adult form at 30 years old in 2004, fashionista in fucking New York, works for a New York fashion magazine. And she's like a 13-year-old girl living in her 30-year-old body. She sees her adult boyfriend, like, I think he was like almost nude. I might have been wearing a towel, but she was freaked out by him. And you could see like how freaked out a teenage girl would be in an adult situation, right? And that's what the message of the movie was. Joey, when he heard about it, was like, oh man, 13 going on 30 is the hottest plot to a movie ever. So he said stuff like that. I remember he flirted in front of a 16-year-old girl once who asked him to take him to prom at a show.
Doesn't age well. Doesn't fucking age well at all.
At all. I mean, and here's the thing, like, I try not to judge people who said shit back in like, before 2010, because humor was so much different. Everything was so much more acceptable. I fucking myself said a lot of fucked up shit. I try and tone it down, but it's like back then it was just like nobody really said things with like intent to be racist. But if there was a humorous thing behind it, I could understand if Joey ended up growing up to be some dude who's not a creep. But like knowing what I know about him now, or what we allegedly know about him, it's like, oh man. So it kind of makes me look back on my past with Joey. It kind of sketches me out.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't fucking age well. But I mean, you know what was mine? That I was like,
Scientology, right?
Huh?
Are we still talking about the Scientology question?
In terms of what?
We were doing that. Who was the person you were most surprised to find out was a Scientologist?
Yeah. Isaac Hayes.
Yeah. When he was playing Chef.
Was like the fucking Chef theme song guy.
That broke my heart.
From South Park. He's a Scientologist?
Yeah, the whole thing broke my heart when it all went down, because like they had that public fallout when he started going to Scientology and they were criticizing the religion and all that. And then like they had that episode where they killed him off. It was just, oof. And like he eventually died, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah, man. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of weird. But I mean, what isn't weird is you being into pro wrestling. Obviously.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
Is it really?
I think so.
Okay.
I just think pro wrestling's weird. I like it. I enjoy it, but I still think it's weird. And here's a weird thing about pro wrestling and finding it weird. It's like you can find it weird, you can find it stupid. Doesn't mean you have to hate it. I just feel like most people in wrestling who are fans, wrestlers, promoters, all that shit, they need to embrace the fact that pro wrestling is a stupid thing when you look at it from the outside in. All right, like put yourself in the shoes of someone who has never watched pro wrestling. Like imagine if an alien came down from outer space, right? And you have to explain pro wrestling to them. How the fuck would you explain the complicated history of how pro wrestling went from being a legitimate shoot sport, right? Back to the ancient days of pancration, in the ancient Greek Olympics, Roman Olympics, I don't know. Way back before Christ was even fucking born or even a thought. Fucking all this shit and how it's led up to fucking Thunderdome, Retribution, you know?
Oh, don't even get me started.
How are you going to explain Hulkamania to a fucking Martian? How are you going to explain the Attitude Era? How are you going to explain ECW? How are you going to explain pro wrestling to a Martian? Now, at the same time, how do you explain boxing and MMA to a Martian?
But then again, okay, so...
But like, my point is like, wrestling's weird. Let's just embrace it. I mean, we can take it seriously, and we can also find it as a joke, but no matter what, it's going to be weird. It's going to be the most ostracized, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, form of entertainment in the world. And we just got to embrace it.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing about it is, like, okay, so, I mean, if you're using, if you're using that kind of context, right?
Mm-hmm.
They also abduct us, right? Like,
yeah,
theoretically,
they also don't give a shit about this. They would kill us and overtake our land. So,
so for me, I don't know. Like, everything is subjective, right? Like, there's a ton of shit that, like, I think I'm weird. The fact that, like, nothing, like, I'll try and sit and watch, like, regular movies or TV and whatever the fuck, and, like, I'm just like, oh, what's on, like, New Japan World? Oh, what's on UFC Fight Pass? Oh, what's on YouTube? What kind of, like, weird fucking thing that can I find out that I didn't know about? You know, like, this fucking wrestler that might have rolled the territories in, like, the 1960s in Alabama and whatever the fuck. Like,
you go down a wormhole sometimes, right?
Huh?
You go down a wormhole sometimes, right? And it's just...
Yeah! Wormholes are fun! Like, I fucking... memes and face swaps. That's what I've been doing.
You know what I've been really into lately? Predator stings and catches.
Really?
Yeah. I've been watching a lot because, like, I just like seeing confrontation and people being put in fucked up situations, but I also don't like feeling terrible about it, right? So seeing guys who were trying to prey on, like, 14-year-olds and they're like 40-year-olds getting caught and humiliated, I love it. It's so much fun. I also had an idea for a concept where, like, we would do predator stings, but, like, where they would try and meet a decoy, but instead of, like, just some random Joe Schmo confronting the predators, it's a professional MMA fighter.
Oof. Well, is that like weirder than, like, the priest and the preacher, like, in town? Or is that, like, do we kind of suspect that?
I don't know. It all depends. But there's this one guy, like, his name is, he's like on the East Coast. His name is Rami. He's got a pretty big following. He does a lot of predator things, and the other night he fucking, like, oh, he's also like a former amateur MMA fighter. The other night he got, like, 2 predators on a live stream, right? The first one he made the dude call his wife. The second one he busted, like, this dude trying to lure a kid into his place, and he busted him, like, right, like, his mom was home and his little brother was home, and they fucking got told, like, what was going on, and the mom had a meltdown. The dude was just like, oh, he was just so fucking gone. It was just so entertaining to see, man.
So, I mean, are you talking about the Combate fighter? Are you talking about?
No, not the Combate fighter. This is a different dude. He was a former amateur.
It is actually from To Catch a Predator.
Is there a Combate America's fighter who's doing that stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess why don't we get on it?
I'll look into that, but I know that this dude on the East Coast, he's like, I think he's from Egypt, right? He's going to Egypt soon to do stings overseas, and like he fought amateur, but I don't know much about his career.
So what I know about, and I'll kind of, I don't think people shouldn't know already, right? Emilio Sanchez, who used to fight for Combate Americas, right? So actually has a win over Froggy Estrada in Ventura County, in Froggy's hometown, which is a wild, wild fucking night to be in. But I was actually getting home from a show, like a drive-in show, at the OC Fairgrounds. You know, that like a test, show for
Fight Club
Bright Productions Lucha show, right?
Right.
And I get home and I get like shit tons of DMs, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? And they're like, oh, do you know about this fucking asshole? And it was
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it was like some people, like I got sent some shit, and I was like, oh, fuck, And crazy enough, he was like deep in the weeds with all the QAnon and like Save Our Children and everything like that. And he was like, not just once, but like this is like I think the second or third time. Yeah, so
it's a terrible thing, and that's why I appreciate watching those Predator stories, because something's got to be done. Cops don't have enough resources, and most of them don't seem to care. So at least we got these dudes out there looking out for the betterment. And I think it would be fun to see some of these squirm when, like, maybe I can talk to Blake Troop about doing something and, seeing him confront predators. That would be interesting, but who knows?
Yeah, man. So, I mean,
it would take a lot of,
man.
It would take a lot of coordination with some sort of local law enforcement because, there are legalities involved, but I would love to do something like that. I would love to produce something like that.
Yeah, man. Again, and I was pretty tired, to, come back from like something that, like I hadn't been out in a while up until that point. And to find that out, I was just like, and then even, people, and it's crazy because like apparently he's out and he is continuing the I don't know, the conspiracy theories. So some things haven't changed.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I don't know. But how did you get into the wacky world of pro wrestling, right? So like,
as a fan or as like starting liking it? I told you this story before, and I feel like you're only repeating this so I can embarrass myself. My first memory of pro wrestling was watching. I could see you nodding your head, like waiting for this fucking answer. Like my first memory of pro wrestling was watching Ultimate Warrior photo up because Papa Shango put a hex on him when I was 4 years old. And then my dad just said, "This is so fucking stupid," and he changed the channel. And it gave me a curiosity into pro wrestling, and I would watch like the weekend shows, like on like KTLA or what Fox 11's KTLA, right? Or was that KTLA 5?
Channel 5, yeah.
Okay, channel 11 and channel 9 were the ones I would channels I'd watch, and I would always see pro wrestling on the weekend shows. And it wasn't until like 94 or 95 when I started getting more into pro wrestling when I was like 6, 7 years old. And then 95, when I entered second grade, I met this dude named Troy, and he was a big wrestling fan. And my friend Michael and I, who's like my best friend, we started we sat near him in class and we started talking a lot. And he would always bring in pro wrestling magazines, and he would bring in like these little paperback picture books that he or his mom or someone would get from Pick and Save. I don't know if people remember Pick and Save, but they used to sell like these like this was 95 and 96, and they were selling like these books from like 1990, 1991, and I would see like pictures of guys like the Road Warriors, the Rockers, Legion of. I just said Road Warriors. Oh my god, I'm so high right now. But I would see all these crazy pictures of these tag teams, and then I would see pictures of guys like Hogan, Savage, Warrior, and then like he would show me the modern magazines, and it would have guys like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. It's like, oh, yeah, I see these guys on TV, and like we just start talking more and more. And I think the one cool thing about this dude Troy is like he had a pair of Bret Hart sunglasses that he got when he was like sitting at a show in like I think it was Anaheim, you know. So he was like one of the lucky few kids, you know, and that made him like the coolest kid in my class. And you know, and it was like right around that time Nitro like started airing on TNT. And when I was growing up as a kid in Glendale, the cable service was Marcus Cable, small. I don't know if it was small or well known, but it ended up being bought out by Charter and then later Spectrum. But back in the day, they would air Nitro live at like 5 p.m. I don't know if it was all like that across the country or just with that here in LA or on Marcus Cable or something like that. And I just remember being into that, and I would watch Nitro, do my homework after, take a bath, dinner, and then Monday Night Raw, and then go to sleep, you know. And that's sort of like how I got into pro wrestling. Not an exciting story at all.
No, I think that's fun, you know. But obviously, I mean, did you narrow it in? Like, did you have a guy like
not until 1995? Like I'd see these guys, but at the same time, it was like I didn't follow it religiously. I wasn't buying magazines yet, you know. I wasn't following it. So eventually, the first guy I got into was excuse me, Shawn Michaels, because he did moonsaults. And yeah, I always gravitated toward the flippier guys. I also like 1-2-3 Kid, but he turned heel. But I remember seeing his stuff on like Coliseum videotapes when I started getting further into wrestling, and he was a guy I also enjoyed. And then, you know, during that time, you had the cruiserweights coming up with like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio, and all that. I wasn't a Liger fan, to be honest with you, but you know, I was a big fan of that style. I loved Dean Malenko's Texas Cloverleaf back when I was a kid. I thought it was the coolest. And then like I remember my mom would take me to this newsstand on Brand Boulevard in Glendale, like right around Lexington. Excuse me, I got a text. I got someone's bothering. Don't mind them. I would go to the magazine stand all the time, right? Like my mom, every weekend I would get a new wrestling magazine. It was like WWF magazine, WCW magazine, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and all that. It's like I just started gravitating more and more about it, and I read about Taz and PWI once, and then when I first saw him on Monday Night Raw in like '97, it was like, oh man, this guy's the shit. And then, you know, years go by, I started watching more, and I started getting into guys like RVD, Jericho, Taz, and Taz. Like, I think Taz might have been a bad influence on me by 1999 because I almost killed one of my friends with the choke.
Yeah,
should I tell that story? I think I won't get in trouble for it.
Yeah, Yaz says, I remember those days. And shout out to Yaz Beats, who's a talented YouTube creator himself, which I might be on his page, hopefully in the next coming week. So shout out to Yaz. So, I mean, dude, I love that you mentioned Taz, right? Because for me, I love the technical wrestlers. I got in with like Brett and I didn't care about Hogan. I didn't care about, you know, Warrior or whatever. But like for me, it was Brett and Savage, and I followed them, right? But then like seeing William Regal in WCW, and the first time he hit like a butterfly suplex, I was just like, oh, did he fucking just do that? Like it was just such, and the Christmas and the smoothness that he would bring to it, right? So when like Tat came in, right? Like again, along the lines of the suplexes. And I would even say like the Steiners, right? They were that technical team when they came to, I mean, I first saw them in WWF, and then followed them over to WCW, not knowing that they were already there. They were kind of homegrown talent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
them, Doug Furness and Phil LaFon,
They were
right?
great.
Like, yeah,
Dan
man, they
Crawford.
were so fucking good, so fucking good. Oh, it was, yeah, and then
Did you ever
Taz was
see the
like,
match with the Can-Am Express versus RVD and Sabu in ECW?
yes,
That was so
yes,
good. I
with
love
All
that.
Japan, right?
No, in ECW at the arena.
Oh no, oh,
I'll try and find a link and send it to you.
I'm
I'll
gonna
also,
hit you up with that Habib shit, and I'm gonna like
I'm
send
gonna also send
location.
you try and find a link to Hulk Hogan versus Great Muta in 1993 to dispel your idea that Hulk Hogan is a terrible wrestler. Listen, I'm not a fan of Hulk Hogan either.
No,
But
I
I
agree.
got I had to give the guy his due when I saw this match years ago. I was like, I can't shit on him. It was a good match.
Yeah,
He held his
but he's
own
a
with
shithead.
Muta.
Hogan's
Yeah,
a
no,
shithead.
he's a racist piece of shit, and he also probably wants to fuck his daughter. So
Yeah, gets fucking weird there, sir. And Eva Schultz Room says, "Good morning from Denmark." Good morning, Eva. How are you? I hope you are doing well. I mean,
is weed
we're
legal in
still like
Denmark?
minutes away from Thanksgiving here in the States. Wife is unfortunately got the COVID, and so we're
Ooh,
getting. I mean, luckily it's good, right? Like
right.
it looks to be asymptomatic. We get retested on Wednesday. The boys are in the room. I'm COVID negative. The boys are COVID negative. So whatever. But like we were just to kind of give it context, we were like, oh, we don't get to see anybody, and we haven't seen anybody for the last 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed inside for 8 months. I kind of did like odds and errands and everything like that. And then the first time she goes out, she gets it, right?
Yeah,
But
that's a kick in the ass.
yeah, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. So, but
I
we
feel
were
like
like,
I already had it back in January or February because, like, I don't want to pull back the curtain on what I do in my life too much, but like, I remember a specific group of people I was around had all gotten sick right around the same time, and we'd all been feeling the same shits. We'd all been feeling really bad headaches, bad fever. We've been coughing, sneezing. We had like pain in our sternum, and we were also getting chills, body chills, and body aches. And we were like, oh man, this is the worst flu we've ever experienced. So it might have been COVID because everyone says, it was probably here before March when we started tracing it. So could have been that. But yeah, I hope everything is good with your family.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But again, to keep it in the context, we were all like, oh, we don't get to see people outside of this house for the holidays. But now it's
Mm-hmm.
like we can't even see each other during this
Yeah.
holiday.
I mean, that's how real it is. People don't want to believe it, but
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. But I mean, so obviously, watching, like Taz, right? Let's fucking do a deep dive with Taz because,
yeah,
like,
dude, so Taz, like, I remember I had this friend named Daniel Pico. Like, he was a shithead. I don't even know why called him a friend. He was just a guy who was always around, like, in retrospect, when I look back and like my friendship with him and other guys I grew up, it was like not the best, but he was one of the dudes I would backyard wrestle with. And I remember he would always be talking massive shit to everybody, right? One day I got annoyed by him, and I remember like we were doing backyard wrestling in my front yard. I don't know how that makes sense, but like eventually, like I got him down at one point, and I put him in the Tasmission, like a shoot Tasmission, and I fucking held on to him. Like he tried to roll away, and he rolled onto my on our fucking driveway. We crossed the pavement, and then we ended up next to my neighbor's lawn. I'm still fucking holding the fucking Tasmission on him, and he's like, and then my friend Sean was like, dude, he's fucking turning blue. Stop it right now. Stop it right now. And I let go of him. His face was fucking turning blue. Like I almost killed my
wow,
friend doing the Tasmission because he pissed me off. So that's why I love Taz. That, and he also dropped people on their fucking heads.
dude, the motherfuckers that he used to, and thoughts and prayers to whoever you choked the fuck out with the Tasmission or the what
Yeah.
do they call it, the Kacha Hajime
The
or whatever.
Kakahajime. I
Yeah,
tried doing that in jiu-jitsu once and it didn't go well.
Yeah, it's a legit move. I'm just saying, right?
Well, I tried to apply it, but it didn't really work for me. But
It's like more forearm.
it's like you need to get the person. It's like you need to get your arm like your this part of like your arm like right under their fucking shoulder, pull it up, and then you need to squeeze like really hard. You need to bring your fucking arms together to get that vice. But I prefer rear naked choke. Well, I preferred them when I was able to fucking train. So,
Or as I affectionately call it, the fucked up ass Ezekiel. It's kind of that way. It's kind of a fucked up ass Ezekiel. Yeah, but
it's like an Ezekiel with the arm in or the arm going up. Basically.
Yeah, but he did arm most of it. He did out, right?
No, he basically like brought his arm in and brought the he would have the arm like hanging out here, and he would have like the guy's head or neck right here, and then he would like come around and he would just do it like that. I guess if you ever trained before, you probably understand. I'm too high to explain this.
Fuck, man. Yeah, but I mean, he was like that shoot fighter like that. That was his gimmick.
He had a judo background.
He was that smile until like maybe he got to the WWF, because I know he did like shit with Mike Awesome or whatever, but like he didn't seem that small. They made him look like larger than life, right? And then like see him against Triple H on SmackDown, ECW title versus a WWF title, and I was like, oh, dude, he's like a Rey Mysterio size, man. He's like fun size.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He's a brick shit house, man.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man, dropping motherfuckers on their heads. Oh, yeah. Just like, just launching motherfuckers. Just, Uranagi, and it was just rough.
It's a style of wrestling you don't really see anymore. Like, I understand why. Like, especially when Misawa died, when he was like the godfather of that style. But, like, I do really miss those days when dudes were like able to take reckless head bumps all the time. Like, I remember back when I got into the So Cal wrestling scene, that was just a lot of what you would see, especially in like a Super Dragon match, which was probably like my favorite, who was probably my favorite So Cal wrestler of all time.
Yeah, man. Those are some good times. And like, I actually believe like Taz, like, during that period of time, like I was just like, the baddest men on the planet are like Vanderlei Silva.
I thought like, Ken Shamrock was.
Yeah, no, I can, but to me, I actually thought that Vanderlei was actually a little bit scarier than Ken.
Oh, are you talking like post, like after discovering MMA or something?
Just in general, I thought Vanderlei with the I got that Vanderlei.
Nice. I wish those are the gloves blue or are they black?
Yeah.
Are they blue? Oh, they're black. I thought you had a Pride Vanderlei.
I got him and Randy Couture.
Oh, that's badass.
So, yeah.
From an angle, he sort of looks like Tito Ortiz in that pose.
Yeah, I mean, that's iconic Vanderlei in Pride, that.
I remember when CM Punk used to do that, and I was just like, dude, don't.
Yeah. I would get fucking legit scared, like, at him, like, 100%. And, it says, best wishes to your wife. Thank you, good sir. You're a scholar and a gentleman. Now, obviously, I mean, during this time, like, did you know that you wanted to get involved on like, some sort of the business end of pro wrestling? Or
I mean, when I was a kid, like I talked about, I did backyard wrestling as a kid, and I always wanted to try and get us like to have an audience, right? And like that came later, but I would always like try and think of like these little ways to market us and all that shit when I was like 10 or 11. It's like I knew I wanted to be a wrestler from like that age and on, but I didn't think I wanted to have any other like. I didn't think I had any other aspirations for pro wrestling. I still don't think I ever really had serious aspirations. I knew, like, aside from wanting to be a pro wrestler, which is like a pipe dream every kid has, but no. Everything just happened by accident.
Damn. I mean, but you didn't think like, maybe I can do this, or
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, like my friends and I, like I said, we did backyard wrestling and we did a lot of shit. And like, I always felt like, maybe someday I can do it. But like, the things that were holding me back was like not having a car when I became old enough to train. And by the time I was 16, fucking the only school that I wanted to go to shut down, and there was nothing really going on in the LA area. And by the time I turned 18, 19, I'd been seeing so many workers come and go because they were like getting injured all the time. And I would see what so many guys would be making, like in terms of financially in wrestling. Because like I also like ended up becoming part of the business in like age 16. So I would be privy to a lot of shit, and I would see what guys would be paid, and I'd be like, I really don't know if I want to do something where I fuck my body up for like 5 or 10 years. I'm still only making like $40.
damn. Now,
I think, but I just remembered. Sorry to cut you off, but like I think the biggest thing that really turned me off was like on the day after I turned 19, February 10th, 2007. PWG had a show in Van Nuys. The main event was Quicksilver and El Generico, who everyone knows as Sami Zayn now, defending the PWG tag team titles against Davey Richards and Roderick Strong. A week prior to that, Roderick Strong had a match with Homicide in FIP. I don't know if you've ever heard of FIP, but they were like a sister promotion to Ring of Honor, booked by Gabe Sapolsky as well. But they were just a different product than Ring of Honor was. And this match that Roderick had with Homicide, they brawled and they ended up going into a dumpster. And then Roderick Strong ended up getting a staph infection. A week later, he's doing this match. He shouldn't be fucking doing it, right? He's got a staph infection. But they think, they're just going to tape up what a staph infection was and have him wrestle and teach him, he'll be fine. Nope. What happened was Roderick got busted open the hard way in the match. And the eye, and he just started bleeding. And if you look at the cover for the show, PWG Get to Armageddon 2, Armageddon, you'll see a picture of Roderick Strong putting someone in a fucking Boston Crab, I think, and he's got blood coming down his eye.
Yeah.
Well, because of that, Quicksilver ended up getting a serious staph infection. El Generico did too, but Quicksilver's was so much worse, and he almost died from that shit. And because of that, he decided to retire. So it was like, at that moment, it's like, I could almost die doing this shit and not make any fucking money. What's the fucking point, And it's like, and it was like months before the Benoit thing too, which also was like another thing. It's like, fuck this, fuck trying to be a pro wrestler thing. I'd rather just get a regular job.
And I mean, at that time when you were kind of deciding what you were going to do and what was what, like, were you writing at that time too, or? So
basically, I started out selling merch in 2004 at various shows because I would tag along with a friend of mine who was training to be a wrestler, and I would just basically get an in with him. I would basically help sell merch. I would help set up chairs. I would sometimes film shows. I even filmed like the Young Bucks first, not the Young Bucks, but Young Bucks' match, but the first official pro match they were involved in. I did stuff like that. And then eventually I started working for PWG, selling merch there. And then, started like doing more shit that didn't matter, but along the way, I was just like learning a lot of shit, I was just like, just keeping like my ears open and my mouth shut. Well, I didn't keep my mouth shut a lot, but I'd been around the scene. I'd gotten to know a lot of people. I'd gotten to know this guy named Scrub, who was like running the site at the time when Steve Bryant, the owner of the site, was sort of like a little more hands off. But I also knew Steve, and then like in 2006, I forgot if it was him or Scrub, but I went to the show in Newhall for a promotion called Battleground Pro Wrestling, and I wrote a review for it, and they put it up on the site. You know, it was just a total last minute thing for me. A few months later, I got like a ride to a show in San Diego at the last minute from a friend who was filming it. And he was just like, hey, you know, want to come along? I'm like, all right. And I'll just review the show and send it to SCU. And then the weekend weekend before the 2006 Battle of Los Angeles, Steve Bryant asked me if I wanted to be part of the staff because like I was the only coherent person that could fucking do this shit. And like there didn't seem to be many people vying for the job. So I was like, all right, cool. And I just started helping out with the site. And like before that, I was posting on the message board. And I don't know if people remember what message boards are, but it was basically like social media before social media where you sign up, had a profile, you make topics, you post topics and all that stuff. But yeah, and I was on SCU from like 2006 till 2010 when I took a brief hiatus afterwards and then came back in 2015.
Now, I mean, do you remember the first article that you wrote for So Cal Uncensored?
As I mentioned, a Battleground Pro Wrestling review. It was on March 26, 2006, I think.
And do you remember the subject matter?
It was just a show review. I remember there was one really bad match. There's this guy named Craze versus this guy named Food Dog. And Food Dog was probably one of the worst wrestlers in SoCal history. You know, still might be one of the worst wrestlers in SoCal history. I remember like they had a sequence and then one of the dudes got blown up in like a minute and they had to go outside to catch their breath because the venue in Newhall where shows were running at, it's like the ring was like right in like the fucking this little like hall area, and there's like 3 sections where people could sit and like these 2 little aisleways where you can get out and go to the exit or bathrooms or whatever. Like this one dude just he was like in his 40s and he's trying to fucking do basic wrestling, you know, basic ass wrestling, and he just fucking got winded and he fucking got out of the ring and he walked past me outside to where the fucking parking lot was, which was like only 40 feet away from the ring, and he was just like it's like Jesus, dude. But I remember writing about that, and I remember only getting some feedback from the website, from people on the message board, excuse me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing exciting.
Now, what was the reaction of? Did you ever find out about the reaction from said wrestler? Did they
I'm
read
pretty
the
sure
article?
they talked shit about me behind my back, but I know the promoter replied. Like he replied when I posted the link on the message board, and he'd say, "No, you made good points, blah blah blah. I don't agree." It was just very passive aggressive shit.
No. Well, I mean, somebody's got to be the first, right? And,
I mean, I've had enemies from the message board days, but you know, it was bound to happen by the time I fucking went over. I think Adam Pearce and Dave Marquez hate me the most, though. So whether it's with message board posts or articles.
No, I mean, so that was kind of like, I mean, a crazy, almost a baptism in blood, right? Like, you know, I
got assaulted when I was 16 because of shit I'd say on message boards. I was filming a show for AWS, right? I was filming for someone at an AWS show, and right before that, New Japan USA had been airing on a local TV station, right? And Adam Pearce and Dave Marquez were the figureheads behind it. It was like, I know, like in 2004, New Japan wasn't great, but Jesus fucking Christ, Adam Pearce and Dave Marquez running New Japan USA. Anyway, the show was really bad, and I remember being one of the more vocal critics about it, right? And Vanderpyle fucking hated this guy named Vanderpyle. His real name was Marty Lurie. He was a manager named Edward Vanderpyle. And he and Adam Pearce fucking hated me. And then eventually one day at a show, Vanderpyle was managing this wrestler named Baby Slim, who was this big jacked up black dude, right? And his gimmick was keep it gangster and all that, even though he was a fucking office worker. Like, how gangster can you be if you work in a fucking 9 to 5 office and you drive a PT Cruiser? Anyway, he had this dude who's like a full-grown adult pour Kool-Aid on me when I was just a 16-year-old kid, and he's like, "Don't you talk shit anymore about us?" Blah blah blah. I was like, well, that didn't stop me anyway, but it was just fucking, that's just the kind of people I've dealt with. I've had death threats too.
That's kind of unnerving. That's a lot of heat.
Oh, I'm used to
it. You're like the heat seeker, my goodness.
If anything, I feel uncomfortable when I don't have heat around me.
I mean, that more power to you. That's literally one way to do it, But in terms of like things that you've accomplished, like
I haven't accomplished shit.
I don't know. Okay, what's the greatest like indie show that you've ever been to, and why was it?
Fuck, this is gonna be tough. I can't really think of one that comes off the top of my head because I've spent so many years going to PWG shows, and I've seen a lot of great PWG shows, and oh man, I just can't think of one. I'm sorry.
And then
I can probably think of great matches though.
Yeah, let's go with that.
The aforementioned Baby Slim. He is a guy who, I'm going to be honest, he was pretty like mediocre in the ring. He was a decent big man. He could do some moves, but he wasn't that great. But in March 2004, he had a match with Super Dragon, and it was really one of the best matches I had ever seen in my life. Like from an in-ring standpoint to crowd heat standpoint, it was just very electric. It was just one of those matches where it's like, I really feel like if it had happened today, like it would have been one of those matches so many more people would have talked about. Like it would be getting so much hype, and it would have put those guys on the map. What else was a good one? Oh, the first time El Generico faced Bryan Daniel Bryan at a PWG show. It was the 4th anniversary. It was a really interesting story about this because so in PWG 2006, 2007, it was like cursed. There was always like match changes going on and injuries and all this shit. And Briscoe's fucking everything up because they don't show up, whatever. So this 4th anniversary show, which took place in Burbank, it was supposed to be headlined by Generico versus Bryan Danielson. Wow. And I think Jay Briscoe or Mark Briscoe was supposed to face Necro Butcher. And there was supposed to be like some tag team title match. I forgot. I think it might have been Pac and Roderick Strong versus the Briscoes. And like Necro Butcher was on the card, and El Generico was supposed to face Bryan Danielson. Anyway, it ended up like being like what the Briscoes or one of the Briscoes no-showed, which was a common story. And then it became like Jack Evans. No, it became Pac and Roderick Strong versus El Generico and Kevin Steen in the supposed main event for the PWG tag titles. And El Generico was the PWG world champion at the time too. And earlier in the night was Bryan Danielson versus Necro Butcher, which was a dream match, Yeah. So Danielson and Necro had their match and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the main event happened. And it ended with Generico and Steen winning the tag titles from Roderick Strong and Pac.
Oh, damn.
Right after the match, Bryan Danielson came out and I think he was cut open in the match and that might have been bandaged up. And then he was like, he called out El Generico like right in the middle of the ring. And there was like 500 people in the venue just going crazy. And then they just ended up having this like 10, 15 minute impromptu matchup that tore the house down. It was just so much fun to watch as a fan,
That's incredible.
Oh,
especially
your friend Josh Barnett. He had a match with Jeff Cobb at AWS in like, let's say 2016, 2017. Dude, one of the best.
Wait. Barnett wrestled in AWS?
It was a joint show with Quintessential Pro Wrestling. It was like a total last minute thing.
What?
Yeah. He wrestled Jeff Cobb, dude. It was so good. It was so fucking good.
I might have to, grab one of those DVDs from Bart.
Yeah, you might have to.
Yeah, fuck. Damn. I thought
it was so good because like you're used to like seeing like wrestlers do like sorts of corny bullshit in the ring, and you see them throwing really terrible strikes, and the way they fucking grapple just doesn't look like grappling and all any of that. It's just like a run around misdirection spots. Barnett and Cobb had like a pure wrestling match, and it felt like it's close to shoot style as you can get. And it was still a pro wrestling match, you know. It wasn't fake MMA by any means. It was fucking good.
Fuck, man. If I could have been a fly on the wall.
Dude, like, I feel like so many people missed out on, like, SoCal wrestling from, like, 2000 to, like, 2010. Even myself, like, I only came around in 2003, you know. There's a lot of cool shit I missed, but there was so much. I saw XPW, or what that was, like, the first promotion I got into, but, like, I wasn't deep into SoCal when things like MPW was having its original run, or when Revolution Pro was having all these great shows and stuff, but I got to see XPW, so.
Yeah. Now, obviously pre-pandemic, right? And, were there any of the wrestlers here in SoCal that you were like, hey, fuck, like, why don't they have a bigger stage? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of guys in SoCal that I feel that way about, because I mean, I don't want to sound a certain way. I think it's because like a lot of them aren't either networking with the right people, or they're not friends with the right people. And I feel like there's a lot of nepotism in SoCal wrestling, but I do feel like a guy like Diego Valens, who's a mainstay at MPW right now, he's a dude who should be a fucking star right now. Like, I see various other performers getting booked in all sorts of shows, and they're getting flown out. Even now, it's like, this dude is being wasted. Like, he's a guy who could be a star. Brendan and Danny Devine are two guys who are also really good and should be, like, in more places. They should be the top tag team in SoCal, but they're not, because promoters are fucking stupid and they'd rather be lazy and use their friends. Michael Hopkins down in San Diego, a student of B-Boys. Like, as soon as that dude, like, it's like, you know, when a comedian starts out and they're just like funny, but they don't have their voice. That's what Michael Hopkins is, in my opinion. I think he's really good. He's got all the talent. He's got all the ability. He just needs to find himself as an in-ring performer, which is what Frankie Frank did, who's another guy at MPW. He was a guy who, when he started out, I thought he was the drizzling shits, because he was doing some goofy comedy cat gimmick, right? When he had a mask on. And he changed his gimmick. He's still kind of got a goofy comedy gimmick, but he's good now, and he knows how to work to, like, what his abilities are, you know. Jack Cartwheel, I don't know what his official name is, but from the little I've seen of that guy's going to be a fucking star. Dustin Daniels is another guy from MPW. He's like, I think he's 17 now, 18, but that kid's going to be the future of SoCal if he sticks with pro wrestling and doesn't, like, get off track. But yeah, there's so many talented performers coming up, and I've seen one performer, I'm not going to mention their names, I've seen what she can do in the ring in training, but I feel like if she makes her debut and she is capable of doing what she can in training inside of, like, actual performances, and she's going to be a star rookie. Also, that Blake Troop guy.
I like it. I fucking like it. And again, you know, it's cool to find, like, new talent that you may or may not have heard before, and that's half the fun, you know.
And you know, I still feel like a lot of, like, the top talents in SoCal are still unknown. Like, Adrian Quest is a guy that should be fucking known, but he's just barely getting bookings. Like, Danny Limelight's just now breaking out and all this shit. But I mean, there's so many reasons why, like, I can get into why these dudes aren't over. Like, it's just really, I mean, I think most of it is, like, certain inherent biases. You know, they're not from certain places, you know, they're not friends with certain people, but, you know, like, I think eventually people will come around and see what kind of talent they have. It's just a matter of, like, the right timing, I think, once this whole COVID thing is over.
And they say timing is everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, in terms of for those who haven't already, basically learned about what SoCal Uncensored is.
Mhm.
Let's give a brief introduction to people that don't know what that website is all about and what it aims to do.
It's basically a pro wrestling and MMA site about stuff in SoCal. There's really not much to it. Like we have columns, we have articles, we have news articles, I should say, opinion articles, reviews, interviews, whatever. Well, right now we're in a downswing because COVID has just slowed everything down. And there's not much to write about besides like Dave Marquez shows, and it's like I'm not gonna write about that shit, but not anymore. But it's like, but basically, So Cal Uncensored started in 2001. If anything, the history of So Cal Uncensored predates So Cal Uncensored.
Yeah,
Excuse me, I'm trying to burp one moment.
there you go.
Did you see smoke come out?
You needed to get the story out. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. I smoked before the podcast, as I told you, and it's like, and I got my window open. It's causing problems. Anyway, sorry. Getting back to the story of So Cal Uncensored. Anyway, in 2000, not skipping ahead. In 1997, these three guys, Derek Cole, Tom Walters, and Adam Morant, started this website called So Cal Wrestling. And it eventually got bought out by this dude named Aaron Hassan, who was a referee in the local scene. But So Cal Wrestling was basically the predecessor to So Cal Uncensored. And it did coverage of the So Cal scene and had a message board and all that. And then, like, I think the dirty secret about So Cal Wrestling was that the people who were on staff were also working for promotions that were being hyped up on the website. So if somebody who's working for the website worked for UPW would be getting the coverage on that website. And one day in like May 2001, there was a scandal that broke out where UPW's told various workers that they can't wrestle for certain promotions in SoCal because if they did, they would not associate with them anymore. And at the time, UPW was like a connection to WWF. If you wanted to get looked at WWF, you pretty much should have been at UPW. And like whenever WWF would come to the West Coast, when they would do the loop here, you would always see UPW guys on those cards. Like you would see Christopher Daniels, the Hardcore Kid, Aaron Aguilera, Frankie Kazarian, all those dudes because of UPW. And like, nobody wanted to like risk like cutting ties with like one of the bigger promotions in SoCal that can get you looked at, by the big New York promotion. So eventually there's this huge scandal, and the message board for SoCalWrestling.com had a post about it, and it had like 100 posts in like a matter of hours. And eventually it got all wiped out and deleted. And this, like, at the time, Steve Bryant, who owns So Cal Uncensored and is a co-founder, him and this guy named Lonnie Hill, they were working on an alternative for SoCal Wrestling because they were basically sick of the politics, and they were basically sick of all the favoritism that was going on. And they wanted to create something where it was like a message board, a chat room, and opinion columns. It was basically like an early social media thing. And when this whole UPW scandal happened, and someone on SoCal Wrestling.com deleted a message board, but criticizing UPW. Excuse me, I'm really high right now. SoCal Uncensored ended up becoming born of that, and it became more than just what it was going to be. It became like more about news, results, interviews, columns, all that shit. And eventually SoCal Wrestling died out and SoCal Uncensored stayed. And, like from 2001 to like 2009, 2010, it was like basically owned by Steve Bryant. There would be periods of times where he would walk away from the site to do personal stuff, because like you can't just dedicate your life to a wrestling website if it's not making you money. You got to live your life. So other people would come in and help run it, manage it when he was like away. And then he sold the website to this guy named Derek Cole, who I told you founded So Cal Wrestling in '97, and he brought in this dude J Cal, who's a friend of mine, to help manage it. And eventually, like, they were running it, and I stepped away briefly from it, and I came back in 2015. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
But
That's pretty much the history of So Cal Uncensored. It's just
but I mean, you're taking us down the
oh, I forgot to mention the person who deleted that thread. The person who deleted that thread and worked for SoCal Wrestling was Samoa Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was involved in the online SoCal community.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah. He claimed it was an accident, but
yeah. And Super Dragon is a polarizing character.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
It's funny, like you hear all these, like back in the day, you would hear these stories about Super Dragon being the biggest asshole in the world. But I mean, there were times where he would have his moments with me where he would just like yell at me and say crazy shit. That's just who he was. But he was always cool with me. And I remember like when I knew him, like we bonded over the Lakers and we bonded over music. We talked about video games and stuff. And like, I think he was one of those guys who, like, if you didn't know, then you would like probably not understand his vibe. You wouldn't understand who he is. And I think that's like the one thing that has like, it's really made people have this perception of who Super Dragon is just because like, he might seem like a dick, but he's just like a really low key guy. Or was. I haven't spoken to him in 10 years.
Fucking A. I'm just saying. Now, in terms of like your contribution to So Cal Uncensored, like
I kept that site alive in the last 5 years. Steve, I know you're listening. I want a raise. If it wasn't for me, the site would be dead. Scorpio Sky, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels wouldn't be using the name. Yeah,
this fucking guy.
I'm just kidding, sort of. But go ahead, sorry.
No, so I mean, I was gonna say, how do you want to grow with the company and all that jazz? But I think you covered it. So one thing that I want to ask, and I might have asked you in private before, but like,
I never mentioned that I started the MMA coverage when I asked J Cal just on a whim, can I cover MMA on the website? And he's like, sure. I'm like, all right, cool.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how it started.
Yeah. Back when, like, because, okay, so I'm leaving out some stuff right now. So basically, Steve was away from the site till like 2016, right? And I had returned previously, like a little before that. And the website was still owned by Derek Cole, and J Cal was a managing editor. I could be fucking up the ownership thing, but anyway. But they were basically in charge of the site. Steve was around, and he was doing like the awards and Hall of Fame thing. And I just remember, like, I just went to J Cal and said it, and then eventually, just Steve was around. He's like, we just later just kept it around, and I think the biggest reason why that is because we want to sort of emulate how the Wrestling Observer covers like stuff like with pro wrestling and MMA. So it works. I mean, I think like the MMA coverage is our best stuff personally, but I'm biased because I'm the one who runs that stuff. So,
man, that's I mean, most people have like crazy, intern fucking, stories about getting into a website or vlogging or blogging and whatever. And it didn't seem like it was that at all.
I just talked shit on a message board and knew the guys who ran it.
I mean, it's worked, right?
Yeah.
How long has it been?
Well, my 15th anniversary of my first article is in March, which is the 20th anniversary of SU. But I also have that 5-year period where I was away. So
that's many moons, good sir. And
I'm fucking old.
Congratulations is in order, I would say.
Thank you. I guess.
I mean,
I really wish the way like you fucking like find excitement in this was translate into money for me, because if it were, I'd be a rich man.
I guess that's one way to do it.
Yeah, but I don't make money off this. I don't really. I think I've only made like $300 off my work with SCU, but it's not because I'm asking for money or anything. It's just like I'm just doing it because I love it.
I mean, c'est la vie, good sir.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I might have asked you previous, but like not on record, but obviously there is a tag team or trio, so to speak, in AEW that bears the same name to the website that you work for, So Cal Uncensored, right? So,
Yeah.
what's the deal? Are they separate, equal? What's the deal there?
So the story about this was back in 2017. I want to say November-ish, October-ish. Steve got a DM from Delirious, who was the head booker of Ring of Honor at the time, and he asked Steve, "Hey, there's this idea for a team that we want to use, and they want to use the name So Cal Uncensored. Is that cool?" And we didn't really know much about it, and Steve was all like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And little did we know what it would become, so that's basically it. We just got asked permission.
Okay. I mean, you
probably think there's like a long. Actually, there is a little bit of a backstory. It's like because I guess supposedly like whenever Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian would go on car rides like in Ring of Honor with the Young Bucks, they would like bitch and complain, and then Nick Jackson was like, "You guys sound like So Cal Uncensored," and that's how it came about. But that's really, I guess, the inspiration. But I told you the SCU side of the story, but yeah, I'm not making money off that. I wish I was though.
Yeah, because I mean, I know the instance of like the singer Sting from the Police, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, Steve Borden from WCW, WWE Hall of Famer, right? And it's actually Steve Borden that owned the trademark Sting. Yeah.
How does it work with Edge envy Edge from you too, though? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because it's like Edge came around after the Edge had been known for like decades. So that's one thing I've always wondered. Like, how does he get away with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the deal that I heard is that Gordon Sumner, the rock and roll Sting, basically he plays Steve Borden, the wrestler, $1 per year for the licensing. So
that's a great deal.
Yeah, it's a nice gentleman's agreement, nice shaking of the hands, good brother shit.
Yeah.
So it's fucking awesome, man. Now, in terms of good brother shit, right? Obviously, there's been a lot of people that have helped you get to where you are, so I want you to get some shout outs and acknowledgments out of the way.
I like to shout out myself. So like to shout out me, shout out to best team I could ask for.
Fuck yeah. And let's do one for Steve Bryan too, right?
Yeah, Steve's a good dude, but I'm the one carrying the workload, so don't take that personal, Steve.
Fuck it, and I'll take it.
I'm joking.
Oh, all right. There you go. There's a little bit of sarcasm.
Semi-joking.
Yeah, semi.
Well, I mean, I'm on my Brock Lesnar. Like, I'm in my Brock Lesnar phase right now because I'll just write whenever I want to. Like, I have an article that I'm trying to write, but like my main computer is broken, so now it's like I can't get that done for like a number of weeks or months and shit. But it's like, I think you'll enjoy the article if it ever comes out. But like, I just do shit whenever I want. It's like, it's funny because it's actually funny because I actually left SCU last year.
I fucking love it. But see, this is where my fucking brain goes, right? I think in wrestling, when you were like, I'm semi-serious, I was like, oh, semi-truck, like Diesel. And that's
my friend Troy in fucking second grade had a Big Daddy Cool shirt and a Diesel glove.
Do you
and
really?
You know what? not Kevin Nash's actual glove, but like a souvenir
Okay.
glove. But I remember him wearing that. I was like, okay, that's kind of lame. Like I never really was a Diesel guy, and this was right before Diesel was going into WrestleMania against the Undertaker.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like really not fucking with Diesel then. And he also turned on Shawn Michaels too. It was like fuck Diesel at the time. It was like, why are you wearing his shirt, man? How can you do this with Team HBK?
Trail Stalkers.
Nice. Did you go there?
So the shirt is cool. The tacos are not, right? How can you be
Oh.
like that? Danny Trejo and the best thing, I mean, maybe they've changed the formula now, right? But like literally went there, got a flight of tacos, like carne asada, chicken, and soy, right?
How was the carne asada tacos? I want to know that.
Dude, the fucking soy is the best one. The best fucking taco. How do you even fucking do that? And Danny Trejo, represents LA.
As a Mexican, I'm disappointed to hear this. Like, let me ask, are they better than Jack in the Box tacos though? That's what I want to know.
Oh, it's nothing compared to the fucking Marriott in downtown, where at Survivor Series or after Survivor Series of 2018, I went with a couple of friends that might have included like George Hermosa and from AfterBuzz and Chris Kloss, everything, and we went for just if I can chill out at the TV hotel for the talent, right? Some people had friends, blah blah blah, but I fucking had the right mind about me to order street tacos from the fucking Marriott bar at like 1 in the fucking morning, right?
You couldn't find a vendor.
What the fuck I was thinking, right? And the thing was $25.
Oh,
right? It came out the fucking literally the fucking tortilla was like as wide as a fucking Blake Troop was there as well, right? But like a fucking silver dollar, like a 50-cent piece. That's right. And then
was it hard shell or soft shell?
They were like translucent. They were fucking see-through. It was weird. It was like a jelly fucking fish, right?
That's
like
gross.
A fucking jellyfish, right?
Yeah.
And I swear to God, like it was the worst fucking tacos like I have ever tasted. And it wasn't 25, it was $35, right? But I was fucking hungry. Fucking went to fucking 4-hour fucking wrestling show. I'm fucking hungry, right? And I could have just went right upstairs, right? And got a legit street taco for probably a quarter of the price. But I was like, no, I'm having my drink. Like, let me fucking eat here. And I'm not one to like send back food or like say it's the shit. Obviously, there's like starving.
You don't want to offend anyone, and like you don't want to.
God, dude, I was just get this shit out of my head. It's like, oh, do you want us to take it? I was like, I don't give a shit what you do with it. Just fucking get it out of my face. Like, these are the worst fucking things. Like, do you want a refund? I was like, whatever you fucking want to do. I just get this. Like, this is fucking get this away from me.
I feel like if you fuck up tacos in LA, that should be a crime.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Chris Kloss was with you. Was he acting like an ass at the bar on this night? Like he always used to do at shows back in the day.
Well, Chris is a friend. Chris is a friend, but it was cool because that was the first night that I actually like met him, right? And it's cool because like we'll fucking text each other like at fucking 2 a.m. about like stock tips. Now the 17-year-old me knew that I was trading stock tips with like fucking Chris Kloss from XVW. Like, you know, that you're fucking out of your mind. That's not gonna happen.
You know what's funny? It's like I had seen Chris Kloss around like when I started getting into the scene. It was right after XPW fell, and people couldn't like. I don't know people who knew him, but people who I knew couldn't fucking stand the guy because he would always be annoying at shows and shit. Like I remember one time, Alex Shelley was in a match at PWG, and your boy, or even Travis Berry, was like getting a tryout to film to be part of the fucking film crew at PWG. And like the entire time, Chris Kloss was being an annoying fuck. He was just being insulting towards one of the ring announcers. He was just a complete ass. And it's like, ugh.
Really?
Yeah. And so he's had a reputation like that for being an ass at shows. And it's like, dude, you're part of the business. Fucking act like it. You know?
I haven't seen that side, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe he's matured in his like in recent years, but I just remember like I remember seeing him at certain shows and thinking he was acting like an ass. I remember people would tell me, "Oh God, Chris Kloss is here. Just hope he doesn't fucking yell during my fucking match and try and get himself over with some stupid comment."
Oh fuck, man! But okay, all I know is again until George Hermosa from the Wrestling Chatter channel broke the record. He was the longest podcast episode at 3 hours, and fucking George Hermosa literally shattered it. We went 5 hours in the fucking middle of the night, right? And theoretically, I mean, it's weird with the Kloss one. We could have rolled for another 3 hours. Like we went on for 3 and then talked for 4.
I remember I went out to smoke a bowl, not a bowl. I went to smoke a joint in my neighborhood, and it was like 1 a.m. I remember I'd seen you live on Facebook. Like, oh, I wonder if Adam's like if this thing's repeating itself or whatever. And like, all right, whatever. Go out, do my walk, smoke my joint, and I go around my neighborhood. And I went to go by the Wonder Years house because I lived near the house where they filmed the Wonder Years. And I came back 2 a.m. really high. I'm ready to go to bed. There you are, still talking to Chris Kloss live on fucking Facebook. I'm like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was fun. Hopefully the viewing audience didn't view it as nepotistic, but
I mean, if you're having a good time, fuck it. Why ruin it? Why just fucking cut it off? Why just fucking do it? Just fucking go with the flow, man.
Yeah, and it was fun conversation. It was content, and it's weird, right? Because like I'm almost trying to make content that I would like to watch, right? And very few and far between do I get to the place where, and maybe it's my imposter syndrome in my fucking head, like I'm never gonna be good enough, blah blah, whatever. But like that one, I was just like, man, I would watch it. I'd have that on the fucking background as I'm doing whatever the fuck I'm doing for 5 hours and shit like that. So, or 3 hours in the case of Kloss. So yeah, kept people entertained, and there was at least one person that stayed through the whole entire fucking thing, and whoever that person
was not me. Was not me, for the record. Sorry,
not
I can't. If I'm talking, I could probably do it, but if I'm listening, I get bored easily. It's like,
I mean, the fun shit. It was fun shit, my man. But obviously, Andrew, where can people find you on social media, good sir?
They can't. I have all my shit like very on the low. Just follow So Cal Uncensored shit. I don't really care. Like, I'm not trying to make a name for my like. Cause do you mind if I go on a rant right now?
Yeah, you good?
Okay, this might be a long one, so brace yourself, man. Like, I don't want to be like one of these fucking guys who are coming into the pro wrestling scene trying to like make a name for themselves. I don't want to be a guy who wants like Sean Scoville. I'm gonna fucking say his name. You know who I'm talking about, right?
That makes sense. I mean, I see that.
So you're aware of it, and basically, you guys are basically like one in like. I don't want to say one and the same. That'd be an insult to you. But you guys basically have something similar, or you've had something similar, because he started out trying to do reviews and interviews. Now you're doing this thing, but the thing about him and you is like he's fucking like trying to get himself over. He's trying to like make himself a star, and you're over here trying to like tell people stories, right? And like I have that respect for you, because like I have that respect for you. But I don't have that respect for people.
I do for you.
Yeah. And I don't have that respect for people like Sean, because, there's guys like him who are coming into pro wrestling and they think like, oh, I'm not going to be a pro wrestler. I'm not going to put my money into anything. I'm not going to put my time into any helping anyone out. I'm just going to get myself over. I'm going to try and make myself this and that. Cause I want to one day never work, even though if I have no talent, like you and I have talked about this, we both wish we didn't have real jobs, right? It's everyone's dream. But at the same time, you got to realize if you don't want to have a real job, you need to have a fucking skill. You need to be talented. Guys like Sean come into pro wrestling and they think like, oh, I'm just going to be a fucking goofball and I'm going to ride this fucking joke that everyone's fucking in on except me. And I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm going to try and get myself over at the expense of these people who are fucking working hard all the time, And it just blows my mind. It's like I see guys like him and I'm not going to name names, but I see photographers in the So Cal scene who are like trying more to fucking boost themselves up and trying to fucking actually help the scene. It's like, hey, if you're a worker and if you want to be this and that, pay me a bunch of money that I will take on my fucking cameras, even though you could do it on your iPhone for fucking free, and I'm going to overcharge you, and tell you this is what you need to do, blah, 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 and then I'm going to bitch when people don't fucking credit me on fucking flyers and shit. It's like all these dudes are fucking cloud chasing. It's like I've never been a clout chaser. Like the only thing I've ever chased were like medals when I was doing jiu-jitsu competitions, when I was training and shit, because that's what I wanted to be, like successful in what I do. I don't really care about being fucking known by everyone. I don't care about like having Instagram or Twitter with 1,000 followers. I don't care about having the limit on Facebook with friends. I'm cool with just having 100 people I know on Facebook. I'm cool with just like 30 followers I have on fucking Twitter. I don't need an Instagram because my face ain't pretty enough for it. But all these, and it's like I do need money. I do need a job, and I do need to promote my fucking shit when I go on SoCalUncensored.com and post an article. But I don't need to fucking make myself, bigger than my website, bigger than my scene, bigger than anyone else. I would much rather fucking help guys out and help like workers out, help promotions out, and help fighters out, because I want to help showcase and tell the stories of fighters, and I want to get like promotions noticed more. I want to give them local MMA promotions, I should say, more coverage, and local fighters more coverage. I care more about doing stuff for them because, if I focus on trying to be a rich man and doing things for my own benefit, I'm going to go nowhere. I just like, I'd rather have more gratification from someone becoming more successful and having supported them early on than being successful myself, And there's so many people who aren't like that in pro wrestling. There's so many selfish people who just look at pro wrestling as a way to fucking boost themselves up and all that shit. And it's just, I'm not interested in any of that. If the only thing I do is really talk to you for a few hours about wrestling and MMA and all that shit, I'm content with that. I don't need to have a following. I don't need to have a monetized YouTube channel. I don't need to fucking go on social media and beg for fucking bookings like a fucking peasant, like all these other fucking dweebs do. It's like, you know what? If you have a fucking talent, be a fucking man. Approach a promoter, say, hey, this is what I can offer your promotion. If you're willing to hire me, I'm willing to do it. And if you fucking know what independent wrestling is, you wouldn't bitch about money. You wouldn't try to make a dime off it. You do it for the love, and then you would see the money come after, because that's how it always has been in pro wrestling and independent wrestling. Like you hear all these stories about guys being broke like early on, and now they're successes. They were broke and they were struggling, but they kept doing it because they fucking loved that shit. They weren't doing it with the idea, they had like goals of trying to make money to provide for their families and shit. But none of these dudes were like, I'm going to be a millionaire and all this shit, blah, blah, blah. I want to be the biggest name in the world. It's like, these dudes did it for love. Like, look at the Young Bucks. Look at Kevin Steen and all that, And now we have all these non-wrestlers and all these fucking scrubs just trying to fucking mooch off the hard work of people. And, I'm not gonna like toot my own horn. I don't like talking about what I do, but I do a lot of stuff in the scene, behind the scenes, and I don't talk about it, right? Because like that fucking Ghetto Boys song says, real gangsters don't flex on us because real gangsters know they got them, and I don't fucking flex. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I'm contributing. And eventually it'll pay off, or it might not. But I'm helping, and I'm just glad to see something I love like be benefit from my help. But none of these other motherfuckers are thinking that. They just think, I want to interview people so I can be famous on YouTube and then get like fucking commentary bookings, and I'm going to sound like shit on commentary, but it doesn't matter because everyone already feels sorry for me because of what they think I am, even though I'm not that way. And yes, I'm still talking about Sean. And then the other people, like unnamed photographers who just want to fucking clout chase at the expense of hardworking people, even though it's like you just take pictures. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like all these fucking guys just need to chill the fuck out. It's like all these people who aren't getting into independent wrestling as professional wrestlers, know your fucking place, dude. It's like if I went into back into the MMA scene right now, right? And I'm not going to be a fighter because of health and injury reasons, but if I went back into it, I'm not going to be like the shit caller. I'm not going to be like, dude, this is how it needs to be done. That's how it needs to be done. And you guys need to listen to me. Give me money right now without doing shit. If I'm going to be going into it, I'm going to be like, probably work a cage door and I'll probably do nothing and say nothing, And most of these motherfuckers don't have that mentality of pro wrestling anymore. They just want to be like, I'm in the pro wrestling business, even though I'm a fucking lowly nothing and all that, blah, blah, blah. Like even certain ring announcers are getting full of their own shit. Not Joshua Shibata. He's a good dude. I like Joshua Shibata, but other ring announcers and commentators and just non-wrestlers are just getting way too full of their own shit, I think. And I never want to be one of those guys,
Yeah, fuck. I mean, that's a hell of a promo, but
I mean, it's from the heart. It's like I've seen so much shit throughout the years, and like to be honest, like there are times where I look back and like, man, I feel a little guilty because sometimes I feel like some of the articles I've done have overshadowed some of the wrestlers' work, and it wasn't my intent, But like I never try to be any of that, so I don't want to be like well known. I have a YouTube channel people can subscribe to, has my own jiu-jitsu matches, but I don't want to be a wrestling personality. If I become a personality, I'd rather it be just from like me getting back into jiu-jitsu, competing and coaching, hopefully one day.
That's a fucking novel. It's a novel, journey, I guess that you're venturing in on, and I love it.
And I'm not gonna lie, I miss doing jiu-jitsu more.
Yeah, me too. Like I was, and shout out to James Lott Jr. and JLGA Media, who are the 6 people who dislike this damn video. I don't know.
Good friends.
Happy Thanksgiving to whoever the fuck they are, and keep the dream working even while working a day job. Absolutely, that's about what many of us do. And
there's nothing wrong with having a day job. Like so many people like think it's fucking a bad thing, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you can have 1,000 followers and still not be a success. You got to keep helping others. Absolutely, and shout out to James. And you can't chase the dollar. And exactly. Those folks are ghetto boys. Which, why not? Yeah. I'm just saying. And James Law Jr. is a good brother, a former AfterBuzz. I mean, he's doing so much stuff. He's got like soap opera stuff, like a litany of things written, like countless books and whatever. Like he makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. Like him, Hermosa, you, Flobo Boys. I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Like
I'm not doing shit myself, so don't worry about it.
Fuck, man. But dude, I mean, I guess you could like here we are, dude. Dude, thank you for fucking joining us, man. Like this is
no problem,
cool, man. I feel
enjoyed it.
I feel honored, dude. Like you did this. Like this.
I'm a nobody. Don't. I'm a nobody. Don't worry, man.
You're the fucking man. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, man. And we appreciate you. Even the 6 people that, for whatever reason, go ahead and hit the thumbs down.
I love my trolls. You know what? Fuck it. I mean, I've trashed so many people. I deserve it. It's fine. Yeah. I'm fine. It's not. I was too inebriated for this podcast anyway, so.
Yeah, and it counts as a view anyway. So I'm just saying. But I'll be the show, right? We like to thank Andrew Pesina from So Cal Uncensored, and go ahead and check that site out. All types of awesome stuff there. But I warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on YouTube and Facebook. But if you don't take my word for it, and I mean, Andrew, you're subscribed, right?
No.
Oh, fuck, man.
I do like you on Facebook, though.
Okay, so there you go. Fuck yeah. That's one. That's 50-50. That's literally 50-50. But again, just don't take my word for it. Here's Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang.